Hey, what's up guys, Rip here. So we got some more controversy involving Assassin's Creed Shadows, and this time we're going to look at some Japanese gamers who are upset with Ubisoft's woke pandering when it comes to this game. Now, a lot of the controversy surrounding this game involves the choice of main characters. Of course, for a game set in feudal Japan, this seems like a very interesting choice for these two main protagonists, especially when you choose Yasuke and claim he is a samurai. Now, a lot of historical evidence suggests that he was simply a retainer, and there's a great lack of evidence to suggest he is a samurai. However, the developers of this game and game journalists have not only claimed that he is definitely a samurai, and that all historical evidence suggests it, they even go as far as to say, if you are complaining about this, you have no grounds because apparently there's been enough Asian representation in the realm of the samurai. Sorry if you're an upset Japanese gamer questioning this choice of main character. You've had enough representation, according to IGN and other game journalists. And also people on Twitter have defended this decision by claiming the outrage about this only comes from a bunch of white dudes living out in the countryside. However, if you look at the Japanese trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows, you will see the like-dislike ratio is absolutely abysmal. However, Twitter will try to convince you that the 5,300 likes are all from Japanese gamers and the 48,000 dislikes are all from white dudes from America. Yes, they don't want to listen to what Japanese gamers have to say about this game, and it shows. On top of that, as this game and its launch gets closer and closer, we're seeing some goods be sent out by the team, and yeah, it's not going very good for Ubisoft. As you can see from this post right here, the details of the statue and all the related merchandise have inaccuracies. Very blatant ones, not just with the figure, but also the kanji is incorrectly written, as Japanese speakers have pointed out, which is obviously very disingenuous for some sort of a promotional item like this being sent out to various YouTubers and content creators. And on top of that, it really demonstrates everything wrong with the really direction of this game and its character choices and its plot choices. It just demonstrates that this game is being used to push some sort of an agenda. They're using characters like Yasuke, they're using the feudal Japan setting and other things to push their own version of the history. They are revising the history for their own political agenda, and it's very obvious. They don't have an actual appreciation for any of the related culture. They just want to use it for their own personal gain, and it's showing. And on top of that, the Japanese gamers are getting louder and louder about their disliking of some of the choices involving Assassin's Creed Shadows. You can see this IGN Japan post right here on Twitter getting a lot of backlash. Let's read some of the replies to this. This user saying, Yasuke, who has no historical achievements whatsoever, could be turned into a legendary samurai, a great ruler of Japan, or even a beautiful girl in a work of fiction. As long as it's not falsely portrayed as real historical fact, there is no problem with this expressing it as a flavorful nuance, such as the truth about Japan within the main story. The only problem is people who pretend that fictional stories are historical facts. Here's another one saying, even though it's called historical fiction, these are people who insist on revising history to be politically correct, and it makes me want to puke. Here's another one saying, in quotes, we filled in the gaps in history with our story, end quote. If some circles find out about this title, it could incite a boycott. I would never buy it though. So as these Japanese users are pointing out, they're basically trying to have their cake and eat it too. So what Ubisoft and some of their supporters are trying to do is say, hey, if you have an issue with us labeling Yasuke as a samurai in the game, that's just a work of fiction. We can do whatever we want with these characters. But as IGN attempts here, and many of these supporters of this game also do, they try to also claim he's a samurai in real life too. They want it to be true in both the historical and fictional context while having defenses for both, when there's no real tangible evidence to suggest he is a samurai in the historical context that is needed to justify both sides of this. They want to have both things be true and then judge you if you disagree. But moving forward, there was even more posts on the Japanese side of Twitter that would get a lot of outrage. Again, another post from IGN Japan here, sharing some quotes from the development team of Ubisoft. This user would quote them saying this, the dangerous idea that we have filled in the gaps in history with our story Yubi's Our Samurai Yasuke is not a samurai, and although he was supposed to have been loved by the people of Fukushima-yama for governing the castle town well, a recent gameplay video showed the common people being oppressed in the castle town. Our history with Yubi. And here's another one saying Assassin's Creed is set in Japan's Azuchi Momoyama period, and I'm surprised that the film fails to anticipate the shockwaves that would result from making Yasuke, who wasn't even in the textbooks, a legendary samurai and having him kill Japanese people instead of the actual Japanese themselves. Here's another one saying, this is really crazy. The Assassin's Creed series has always had a local character as the main characters. They're calling Yasuke a samurai who played an active role. If this were in China or Korea, it would cause a huge outrage and even lead to a ban. But in Japan, they wouldn't say anything even if they discriminated against, and I experienced the real discrimination of a French company. And here's another one saying, if you watch the video, you can see that there's no mention of the Knights Templar or the Assassins at all. Why not stop calling it Assassin's Creed? In a politically complicated time, it's easier to understand if you look at it from multiple perspectives. In Assassin's Creed, there are two choices, the Knights or the Church. And all these confusing elements and really just disrespectful elements to a lot of Japanese people who have issue with this is starting to mount more and more. And if you keep looking around, there's more and more outrage over this game stemming not just from a bunch of white people on Twitter, it's Japanese users as well. And you start wondering, well, who is writing these stories? Who is trying to write my version of Japanese history? Well, you can look here and see this is what the lead writer of Assassin's Creed Shadow looks like. And here's the group of people she's following. Oh, look at that. It's Sweet Baby Inc., the woke consulting firm that is basically ruining games out there with their DEI initiatives. On top of that, if you go to the Sweet Baby website, you can see on their client list, Ubisoft. So none of this is really surprising if you start digging in. And on top of that, these people don't really care about having any sort of historical accuracy, okay? And it's really showing. I remember sharing this clip right here. This user posted a video, some in-game footage from Assassin's Creed Shadows with Yasuke in a fight scene, and they're you know, a lot of people were praising this. Oh, what a great scene! What a great set of background music as well, which is very strange because the background music seemed like it had some traditional Japanese music, but then added in a little hip hop type layer beat to it. And a lot of people are like, whoa, what is going on here? And people like this journalist right here is someone who is praising this as something that is very, very good. In fact, they go even further saying Yasuke's theme for Assassin's Creed Shadows goes hard. It reminds me a lot of the contrast between Miles and Peter's music in Spider-Man 2, where Peter is way more traditional while Miles brings in his own culture to mix in the orchestra tracks, giving them a lot of his own personality. So a lot of people were clowning on this post, and for good reason, because this idea that you would be praised for putting hip-hop type beats on Yasuke's gameplay is outrageous, because it is incredibly stereotypical. And it's even worse when you think about it, because this isn't an African American man. This is a man from Africa, hundreds of years before hip-hop music was created. So that seems incredibly stereotypical and also just wrong. It's like wrong on multiple levels. And users are pointing that out. This user said, we need an apology from anyone defending the quality of the game itself, because what the F is this stereotypical bullshit, man? Here's another one saying, in quotes, it brings in his own culture, end quote. Rap beats will literally not exist for the next 390 years after Yasuke's time in Japan, but here it is. And somehow we're the racists for pointing out how effed up it is that they did the black guy gotta give him dreads in hip-hop theme, end quote. Here's another one saying, African character makes his music a effing rap beat remix. Canadians really think African Americans and Africans are one of the same. Yeah, this entire situation, from the creative choices behind Assassin's Creed Shadow to some of the praise from these game journalists, is a really bad look for all parties involved. This game is a mess, and no, Twitter, this is not just a bunch of white male gamers from the US who are upset about a black character being featured in this game. This goes way beyond it. There's historical reasons to criticize this. There's in-game reasons to criticize this. And really, there's social reasons to criticize this. I think this is all the product of virtue signaling from companies like Ubisoft. I think they want to use these characters and the culture for their own agenda, and I think it's coming through very, very clearly, and a lot of Japanese gamers are seeing through this nonsense, and they're upset about it because you have some random French company trying to rewrite their own history and defend it by saying, well, it's just a setting in a fictional world, but then trying to also claim its historical accuracy, and that gets defended by game journalists who then try to mock you or attack you for thinking differently than that. It's a giant mess, okay? And really, it's all their own fault when it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is what they wanted, and the feedback and criticism that they're getting from users across the world is exactly what they deserve. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.